Alright guys, so this will be the first video in teaching people how to play Dwarf Fortress, which is one of my favorite games. And it's really complex and interesting if you like a colony management style game, but unfortunately it's probably the hardest game in the world to actually get into. So the first thing you want to do is click on the first link in the description for the download. It'll take you to this page on the official forums for the game. Basically this is the Windows version of what used to be called the Lazy Noob Pack. Just a way to collect Dwarf Fortress and some graphic sets and other things into an easy to use interface so that you don't have to be, unzipping files and moving them around and in and out of different folders and stuff. So we just click on this link here and take us to this website, and we just click on download now and go to wherever your downloads are. It may take a couple minutes depending on like the file load on the website, but I've already downloaded it, and then we'll just extract it. If you have WinRAR, it'll look like this. Otherwise, without WinRAR, it just says like extract all or something. Anyway, that'll take a few seconds depending on your computer because there's a bunch of files in there, and it'll give you this folder. So we go into here and double click on the starter pack launcher. And the first time you launch this after unzipping it, it'll usually take a few seconds to open as it basically like associates itself with all the different files and whatnot. But after that, it's pretty easy. This dialog box just says, do you want to allow it to check for updates automatically? I usually click yes. You can click no if you don't want to let it do that. And this is allowing you to import saves and stuff from an older version of the game, which you guys don't have, so we're not going to do that. Alright, so this is the Lazy Noob Pack interface. Just a bunch of different tabs and stuff allow you to select different things. So for gameplay options, first thing we're going to do is change this to 150. It's slightly lower than 200, and basically the deal is the more people you have, the slower the game runs. And without a really good computer, this game can be pretty taxing just because of all the math that goes on in the background. So, but you want to have at least 150, otherwise certain gameplay features are disabled. Basically like promotion of your city's leader and stuff. Child cap, go ahead and change this to 10 for the absolute cap and 10% for the percentage. Basically, children are useless and take a long time to grow up and become like useful dwarves that you can do anything with. So you don't really want to have a lot of them around because all they do is slow down your FPS. They can become important if the civilization that you're arriving from, basically, wherever the colony is sent from, becomes extinct, because then they're your only source of population growth. But that's only an issue if you play for one save for a really long time. Strict population cap, let's set this to something like 160. And basically, once you hit that number, like children can't even be born. So visitor cap, set this to something relatively low just because visitors are kind of annoying and mostly not useful. Some of them are, but we'll talk about that much later on. So 15 is a good number. Invaders, yes. This is basically allows different other races nearby in the world to siege you. It provides a lot of interesting stuff to do. It's your primary source of like combat, so you don't want to disable that. We won't change these numbers for now, but you can set them higher if you want to later on. Leave all of these the same. Don't really need to go into them, but there's no reason to change them. And the same thing for these two options. No reason to change the embark profiles. That's a pretty advanced thing to do, but it's basically allows you to select from a bunch of presets for your colonists and the supplies you bring with you, but for now we'll just leave it on default. And for key bindings, go ahead and change it to laptop with mouse, even though you aren't necessarily playing on a laptop. So just double click on that and it turns green. Alright, now we're going to go to the graphics tab, and you guys can choose basically whatever graphics tab you want. I've put a link in the description to different ones that I think look the best. This one, MEF plus Vordak, is a 32 by 32 tile set, and it's definitely the best looking. The ones that I link below that are all to varying levels of quality and like slightly different styles, but I like to play on MEF. And just click OK on here. If you guys don't like it, like I said, there's other ones to choose from. You can click on the links and see screenshots to kind of figure out which one you like the feel for the best. No need to change anything here. You should check though and make sure that print mode is set to TWBT. This is what allows a lot of the graphic sets to work. So basically, Dwarf Fortress, like the base game, is literally just represented in ASCII characters. So like, some creatures are like a period or a comma, so on and so forth. It's really hard to play, so this changes it into an actual graphics-based game by basically replacing all those values with little tiles, representing dwarfs and goblins and trees and so on and so forth. Mephlite looks the best because it's got the most resolution. It's about on par with like an SNES game, but like I said, you can choose from any one you want. Next we'll go to Utilities tab. We'll talk about this a lot later, but there's a bunch of different utilities that help you play the game better. The most useful of which by far is Dwarf Therapist, which I personally think the game is, even with all the other additions, borderline unplayable without Dwarf Therapist, but we'll talk about that at a later point. Going over to Advanced, you can turn sound on and off, your FPS counter on and off if you want. Turn the intro movie to no, just because there's no reason to watch it really. Here you can set the resolution. No need to mess with this yet, but later on if you want to make the screen bigger or smaller, you can. Autosave, let's go ahead and set this to seasonal. Basically every 3 months it'll save the game for you, which is useful because the game can sometimes crash or something like that can happen and you don't want to lose literally all your progress since the last time you loaded the game. So the rest of this you don't really need to change. Damp stone and warm stone, leave these both to yes. These basically put an announcement out when your dwarves run into stone that's next to water or lava, which is really useful because you don't want them to dig through it and flood your fort. And then last, we go to the DF Hack tab. So DF Hack is a utility that kind of runs in the background for you, and depending on what options you select, does different things for you. So we'll turn on multi-level view, which is basically a way to if there's an open space above multiple Z levels, to kind of see down through the open space rather than just have the game tell you it's an open space. Just makes the game look a little bit better. Automation plugins, this basically does for you a bunch of the super tedious, pointless, not interesting at all things. For instance, let's see here, it says burial. When you build like a coffin for dwarves to be put to rest in, the game doesn't automatically designate it for use, which is just stupid. And DF Hack fixes that by automatically designating it for use. Performance tweaks, go ahead and run or enable this. It basically does some things to make the game run better, and it's much better. Stone Sense we won't turn on right now, but you can use it later. It is pretty cool. It takes all the data from the game and generates a real-time updated view of the fortress in like a 3D kind of Diablo-esque view. It looks really nice. It's not super practical for actually playing the game, but it does help visualize what's going on better. Go ahead and enable mouse controls. That just helps us designate things a little bit easier. And enhance gameplay. Like you can see here, it adds human merchants if there's a human civilization near you, and elvish diplomats that get mad at you if you cut down too many trees. And then go ahead and leave automatic job assignments off because we're going to be using Dwarf Therapist for a lot finer control. And you can turn Hide DF console on if you want. I don't recommend it because then you can like see what's going on in the console, but that's that. And then with all those options selected, we are ready to play, and all we have to do is click on Play Dwarf Fortress. And that's it for this video.